Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest video. We've got a new little update here in Puzzle Quest that is introducing full art cards and Vanguards for Kaldheim. So this video is going to be going over all of that sweet new goodness. So let's get into it. The introduction of the full art and Vanguard cards coming at a time different than release is a little bit different than previous releases have gone of late. But nonetheless, I actually really like that. It kind of spaces everything out a little bit. And in spacing everything out a little bit, it just makes everything feel a little bit more accessible to me. Like, it keeps things exciting, you know? Like, it was really exciting seeing Kaldheim drop. And then now seeing the cards that are available in full art form in Puzzle Quest is also super exciting. And then having the Vanguards come out at the same time, definitely really cool. So the full art cards are really just the cards that were full art in paper also, but it was interesting to see if they were going to choose to put all of the different full art cards from paper in Puzzle Quest, and they did. And this is a really big deal. So let's first go ahead and take a look at the art. If you haven't had a chance to check these out in game, what you can do is you can go to the Kaldheim set. You can select the artwork that you see on the bottom right. That's going to be the full art, and hit apply. And then you select show all cards in the bottom right corner, and you'll get to see all 32 of the full art cards. So we've got the full art Vorinclex, which is kind of creepy, honestly. We've got full art Coma, which is solid. We've got full art Prismatic Bridge, and I'll be talking about this one in just a minute. We've got full art Tibalt, Sarulf, and more, right? So they're just really pretty. Like, I've mentioned this already about Kaldheim, but I feel like the art for this set is just absolutely phenomenal. I love looking at the art for these cards. And then for the upcoming set, Strixhaven, I think it is, there's like this new Demonic Tutor full art for the Japanese edition that, oof, I hope that makes it into this game, because that is some sweet, sweet art. So yeah, we've got some really sweet stuff here. Like, look at these Toralf's Hammer, and like, look at all of these really good cards too. Like, actually pretty much all of the best cards in the set are getting these full art variants. And so as pretty much all of the best cards in the set are getting these full art variants, what this means is that if you are a person who is not a paying player, you're a free-to-play player, I would actually suggest that you stop using your mana crystals right now. Do not use any more of them to buy packs of Kaldheim. Don't use them. Save all of your mana crystals to get the full art variant of the cards, and then get your Kaldheim packs from the Kaldheim events whenever it is that they choose to grace us with their presence. So we haven't actually gotten to play any of the new Kaldheim events yet, but we should hopefully be seeing them soon. Now, a more in-depth dive. Which cards do you absolutely want to make sure that you're saving for, and how much is that going to cost you, right? So I mentioned that the best cards in the set are going to be available. These cards are going to be available from the Plane Chasing Fiblethip event. So make sure that you're keeping an eye out for the Fiblethip event every time that it comes out. I'll do my best to try and get a video out the day that that Fiblethip is offering some of these specific cards, but I won't be able to get one up for all of them. So the real ones to keep an eye out for are going to be Coma, Cosmo Serpent. This is actually the subject of my next video. I was actually in the process of getting this one ready for upload, and then the patch came out, and I was like, no, I'm gonna go over some of the stuff in the patch before I post the Coma video. But Coma is coming up next, and Coma is absolutely insane. Coma's gonna make it so that you're gonna populate twice at the beginning of each player's turn, yours and your opponent's. And just because we have some planeswalkers that can produce some really strong tokens, Coma is an excellent option for people who have very established collections or people who have nothing. So you're going to want to make sure that you're saving for Coma. Coma is a mythic, so it's going to cost, I want to say, 400 mana crystals to get this from Fiblethip. So you're going to want to make sure that you're stashing quite a few of them. If you don't have a lot right now, don't worry, start saving. You're going to want them, trust me. The Prismatic Bridge. I've already made a video on this card. If you don't have the bridge, you kind of have to get it. Like this is the best card in the set, hands down. This card is absolutely incredible. I used it in all of my decks that I've played in the different coalition events that have come out, or that have been running since this card came out, since we've got a lot of summon objectives. But you absolutely have to get the Prismatic Bridge and Asika. This is a 400 crystal buy that you need to make sure that you have 400 mana crystals in your vault or ready to spend at all times. Don't dip below 400, because if this thing comes out and you can't get it in either of the weeks that Fblthp is running it, then you're going to miss out on the Prismatic Bridge, and you don't want to miss out on this card. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how Plane Chasing Fblthp works, Fblthp's event comes in, I want to say like once a week, and then the offerings that Fblthp has in 1 week are also the new things that he I don't know that Fblthp is a he him, but whatever. So the new cards that Fblthp has in their inventory are going to be available in the following week's Plane Chasing Fblthp event also. So if you don't get the Prismatic Bridge the first time it's in, make sure you get it the second time. So you've got 2 weeks to get it. The Prismatic Bridge is coming in. That's an absolute must-have. If we move on to the next page, Toski, Bearer of Secrets, is, from what I've been seeing, I don't have this card yet, but from what I've been seeing, is quite possibly the best rare in the set. It's a 14 mana critter that's going to make it so that when any creature you control deals combat damage to your opponent, you draw a card and gain X mana, where X is that creature's power, not base power, power. So this card is absolutely ridiculous. Like, if you pair this thing with, I don't know, like Quartzwood Crasher, I mean, you don't even have to pair with Quartzwood Crasher. Like, really any green beastie or non-green beastie that just has huge thickness, you're going to do wonderful things. So Toski is an incredible card. You're going to want to make sure you're saving for this. I want to say that the rares cost 250 crystals. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. It might be 200, but I think it's 250. Or maybe I'm thinking of something else. Well, anyways, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I know that there are some of you who are hugely into the exact costs. 400 I'm sure of on the Mythics. Sword of the Realms. This is an absolutely fantastic card. This would be, in my opinion, probably the third best of the Mythics that are going to be available here. Between getting the Sword of the Realm and Halvar, this is a card that you absolutely want to have in your collection. Both sides of this card are very, very good. I would definitely make sure that you're saving up your crystals for the Prismatic Bridge and then Coma, though. Those are the two that I'd be holding my 800 for. But if you're able to save up to 1200, then I would absolutely make sure to pick up Sword of the Realms. If you're wondering, should you pick up Toski or Sword of the Realms, I'll leave that one up to you. Those ones are going to be pretty comparably good. Like, there isn't one that's like, oh my gosh, this one's way, way better than the other one. If you're already overloaded with crystals, Valkmira is a fantastic card. Definitely worth having. The artifact side is going to give you prevent damage and hexproof, and then also for your creatures. And then when you take damage, you lose prevent damage until end of turn. And if your opponent plays a spell, then you lose hexproof, I want to say it is. But nonetheless, it's absolutely worth having. The flip side, Radon? I'm just going to call it Radon, whatever, is a phenomenal card. Even if you ignore the top half about the whole snow thing, because your opponent's probably not going to be playing snow, the bottom half, which makes it so that the cost of each non-token creature card with base cost 11 more in your opponent's hand is increased by 4, is amazing, because it's going to happen every turn. Every turn, you're going to increase the cost of their first non-creature card by 4. And since Greg prioritizes playing creatures first, that means that Greg is probably going to be prioritizing the mana of those creatures. So if you just have this thing out and then you save some removal, with this thing attacking repeatedly while they charge up the creature and then attempt to charge up the card that you're now making cost 4 more mana every single turn, you're going to lock your opponent down pretty well. This is a phenomenal card. It's absolutely worth getting your hands on. As we go down the list a little bit more, another one that I think is going to become a lot more essential to people's collections is Sigrid. Sigrid is already a really solid card, but since the Prismatic Bridge is going to become available in this, this is really just like, you're probably going to run into a whole bunch of Prismatic Bridges. I wouldn't be surprised if by the second week of Plane Chasing Fblthp, where the Prismatic Bridge is available, that like pretty much everyone you go up against has the card. So you're going to want to make sure that you're prepared for that. Sigrid is going to be able to enter the battlefield and exile a legendary support of your opponents, which will ideally be getting rid of the Prismatic Bridge, especially since it's going to be exiling a legendary support, not just like any non-token support or just destroys target support. It's specifically opposing legendary support, so this thing's specifically going to be targeting the bridge, most likely. And then if you can't, you exile the first opposing creature. So what I really like is that this targets the support first, because that's going to get rid of ideally the bridge. And then if they don't have a support, you can just use this to start getting rid of their creatures. Most of the good creatures in Standard right now are legendary, so Sigrid is an absolutely phenomenal card to have. You pair this thing with Thassa, and you just start flickering it every turn, and you can get some pretty solid control at your fingertips. So Sigrid is another one that's absolutely worth having. The rest of these are just more cards that if you want to pick up for fun, go ahead and pick some of them up for fun. There definitely a lot of other like really good cards in here. Some of the uncommons are very solid. Some of the other mythics are very solid. Like, there are really good cards all the way through this list. So I'm going to repeat one more time. If you are a free-to-play player, stop spending your mana crystals on Kaldheim now. Save up for this, because this is like an absolute gift from the developers in that they're giving us the best cards in the set as guaranteed non-duplicate pickups from Plane-Chasing Fiblethip. Yes, I know that means that it would otherwise cost you more to booster craft stuff at the end of the set, but then just don't booster craft stuff, because you're probably not going to need the other cards. And you'll ideally, hopefully, pick up many of them from event rewards. So this is absolutely the way that I would go about it. Phenomenal. Now, if you take a look at the vault, you'll also see that there's a bunch of new Vanguard cards that are available, just the Vanguards from Kaldheim. And so I want to take just a quick look at the Vanguards that are available in Kaldheim and go over if I think that they are worth your hard-earned jewels or not. So we've got 4 new mythics and we've got 5 new rares. The new mythics are going to be one for Kaia the Inexorable, our new Kaia, Nicoris, which is going to be a new white-blue planeswalker, Tibalt, Cosmic Imposter, which excitingly is going to be a new red-black planeswalker, and Tyvar, who has already been in the vault and will be this coming week available for crystals. So if we do a quick dive into the abilities of them, Kaia is going to have the passive ability of when you cast your second card each turn, the first legendary card in your hand gains half of its mana. The +2 ability, which will give it +2 shields, is going to make it so that target non-token creature you control gains Berserker. Until end of turn, if that creature dies, exile it, create 2 white-black spirit tokens. And finally, for -6, exile an opposing non-token, non-land support. This effect can affect Vanguards. So at 15 mana, with these 3 abilities, I really can't recommend that you try and target this Kaia. There will be some situations where you would put this in a deck for fun, but it's definitely not going to be a great addition to any of your decks, and I would not use this over gem converting supports or like the Prismatic Bridge or something else. So definitely a skippable Vanguard. Nicoris is going to have the passive ability of when a token support is destroyed, draw a card, then exile the first card from your library. The +1 is going to make it so that you draw a card, then the first opposing creature gets -3/-0 until the beginning of your next turn. So during their combat, when they swing at you, it'll have 3 less power. And then finally, your creatures get +X/+X until end of turn, then your token supports lose X shields. X is the number of cards in your hand. So Nicoris is very clearly designed to work in conjunction with Foretell. Unfortunately, Foretell just really isn't a good mechanic right now, and so while this is definitely going to enable a little bit by having the when a Foretell token is destroyed, you're going to draw a card and then you're going to exile things from your library. You can only have 1 copy of each Foretell card as a support on the battlefield at a time, anyways. So I mean, you're probably going to be in a situation where you've got all of your Foretell cards down on the battlefield as supports, especially as this Vanguard would make you draw extra cards. And then the -6 ability would ideally be able to get you all of them. So between the +1 and the -6, you'd be drawing a bunch of cards, putting the supports on the battlefield, using the -6, getting them all back. This seems like a really cool way to enable Foretell a little bit better, but it's just like a way of taking a deck with a mechanic that's really clunky right now and then it would just be super slow because you'd have to be pumping this Nico up. It's going to take you at least 3 turns of using this +1 to be able to use the -6. And then you're going to be using the -6. I can't say that I would really suggest getting this Nico Aris. Like, if you wind up getting it, then I think it'll be fun to play with, but I wouldn't target picking this Vanguard up. Next up is going to be Tibalt, Cosmic Imposter. It's going to be a flip Vanguard, which is really cool. It's the first one of those. It's going to be turning into Valky, God of Lies, if you've got the first side, the Herald side down. So this one's got 3 passive abilities, which is really cool. It's 19 mana, and it has, when you cast this, you may exile it and create a copy of it under your opponent's control. Let's be real, you do not want Tibalt on your side of the battlefield at all. So that's not a good thing. So when you activate a loyalty ability, and remember, ideally this is going to be for your opponent because your opponent will have this Vanguard on their side. So effectively, you give it to your opponent, and then when your opponent activates a loyalty ability, they exile the first card without mana from their hand. And when their first creature attacks, it gets +4/+0 until end of turn, but then they take X damage, where X is that creature's power. So if you're using something to prevent damage, or you've got something with Defender or Vigilance or whatever that's going to block it, your opponent's creatures, they're going to swing at you, but your opponent's going to be taking the damage for their creature attacking you. So it's definitely really cool. 19 mana is very much so extreme for that particular ability. The flip side, the God side, is going to have, when this creature enters the battlefield, exile the first creature card from your opponent's hand. You may create a copy in your hand and give it full mana. If you do, exile Valky. And then it's going to have, when this creature enters the battlefield, exile a support named Tibalt you control. So in the event that somehow you put a Tibalt on your side, you play this and you exile that Tibalt. Then if your opponent doesn't control a card named Tibalt, then you're going to create a copy of that under your opponent's control. So basically, if you done goof and you cast Tibalt on your side, then it's going to go to your opponent. Or alternatively, if you don't cast it, if you're using this with, say, the Prismatic Bridge, then when the Prismatic Bridge brings out another Tibalt and it comes in as Valky, then Valky is going to get rid of the Tibalt from your side and then put it on your opponent's side. So this creature is kind of cool. Like, I mean, it's going to exile the first creature from your opponent's hand. So you're getting rid of creatures from your opponent. It can kind of serve as removal before the thing is ever cast. But I can't once again recommend that you put all of your jewels into picking this up unless you're just looking for a change of pace card to play around with. Tyvar Kell is going to be yet another one of these Vanguards. Its passive ability is going to have, when you cast an elf, draw a card, then convert 2 gems to black. This can trigger 3 times per turn. For +1, target elf creature you control gets +3/+3 and gains Berserker and Death Touch until end of turn. And finally, for the -6, you create 8 elf warrior tokens. Those are going to be 1/1 tokens, so you basically create an 8/8. All 3 of Tyvar's abilities are good abilities, right? Like, you cast an elf and you're going to draw a card and you're going to get gem conversion. You use the +1, your elf is going to go ahead and kill something on your opponent's side of the board. That said, elves aren't currently a tribe that are strongly viable at the moment. Like, there's going to be an exclusive bundle that's going to make the elves a lot better, and there's a masterpiece that has the elf leader ability. I still feel like it's kind of weird that this is going to be converting gems to black, just like, and it's not black. It just in line with how Tyvar Kell works on his own. Once again, this is not a game-changing card, so that actually is all 4 of the mythics. And so with that, I would suggest that you save your mana jewels for something else. Don't use the 400 mana jewels to buy Kaldheim Vanguard packs. It just, none of these cards are going to be game changers. Once again, if you're a person who has a whole bunch of crystals and crystals jewels, and you want to go ahead and experience some new cards, the design of these cards is definitely very cool. Like, Nico is going to be enabling Foretell better, and Tyvar is going to be doing more elfy stuff, and Tibalt is just a solid card. Kaia, not so much. But the other 3 are, like, they're definitely interesting with the other cards that have come out in Kaldheim. They just aren't necessary. So I would personally save my jewels, which, as you can see, I am doing. Then finally, there's the 5 rares. So what about targeting the rares, Nalthazar? Well, There's Freyalise, who for the +2 is going to make elf warrior tokens that are also going to have the druid subtype. For -3, you get to destroy an opposing artifact or enchantment. And for -6, you're going to draw X cards and convert X gems to green, where X is the number of druid cards you control, up to 12, including their reinforcements. At 16 mana, this definitely costs way too much mana for what it does. If this was like 8 mana, it would be a really cool card, because you could use it as like a way of getting rid of your opponent's stuff. But for 16, too much. Kaia, Ghost Assassin. +1, move the first card from your opponent's exile to yours, and your opponent loses 3 life. Another +1, your opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. -4, your opponent discards the first card without mana from their hand, then destroy the first opposing token creature. Like, it's so restrictive, right? You have to destroy. So once again, I would not target Kaia, Ghost Assassin. She's not good. Sarah the Benevolent. So the passive ability is, at the beginning of your turn, if you have 20 or less life, you gain 4 life for each creature with flying you control. For +2, your creatures with flying get +3/+3 until end of turn. And for -4, you're going to create a Vigilant Angel token. That -4 is going to destroy this thing on its own because it comes in with 4 shields. The +2 is going to buff up the angel creatures that you're going to be making with this. The passive ability, if you have 20 or less life, you've got a pretty big problem, and gaining 4 life for each creature with flying you control is probably not going to save you. So at 14 mana, once again, this is not a card I would target. Tevesh Zat, Doom of Fools. Oh my gosh, there's so much text on this one. All right, so +1, create a zombie token. This creature gains Berserker and gains the Thrall subtype until end of turn. If that creature dies, convert 4 gems to black. -2, you may destroy target creature you control. If you do, draw 2 cards. Then, if that creature is historic, so if it's an artifact or legendary, or I guess sagas count, but sagas aren't creatures right now, those cards gain half of their mana. And for -10, gain control of each opposing legendary creature. If you can't, exile the first opposing legendary creature, create a copy under your control of each opposing Vanguard support, then exile each opposing Vanguard support. So there's 3 cool abilities on this card, but it's 13 mana. It costs -10 to use that third ability. The first ability is just creating a 2/2 zombie. If it dies, you're going to convert 4 gems to black, which is, cool because the thing has Berserker, but it's not going to be attacking the turn it comes out probably because the zombie token doesn't have haste. So, I mean, every other turn, maybe you're going to be able to convert the gems to black or something. So, yeah. Once again, I wouldn't target this one. Another one that's not game-changing. And then finally, the last one is Tibalt, the Fiend Blooded. Draw 2 cards and discard a card at random for +1. The -2 is going to deal X damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. X is the number of cards in your opponent's hand. That means that's going to be a maximum of 6 damage to the opponent. And finally, -6, deal X damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. X is the power of the first opposing creature. Then disable that creature until end of turn. So, I mean, discarding a card at random is pretty savage in this game because it could discard your first card, and if you've got mana stored up on that card, that's just bad. If this was draw 2 cards and discard a card, or if it was like discard a card and draw 2 cards, then this could actually be a really useful engine for red. But that discarding a card at random is not something I would go for. So on the whole, there are actually 0 Vanguards that I think are worth chasing from this set. I would very strongly suggest that you skip the Vanguards on this set. I mean, I think that, which is unfortunate because I think that Tyvar, Kel, and Tibalt, and Nico are cool, but, just because they're cool doesn't mean that you're going to want to spend the resources that it takes to buy them to get them, because I would much rather save those resources for, trying to pull a specific masterpiece or mythic, right? If you don't already have a card like Urza or Omniscience or any of the other super powerhouse cards, like the Prismatic Bridge, although you'll be able to get that from Fiblathip, so don't use your jewels on that anymore, right? But unless it's the last thing left. But yeah, I would skip this particular set's Vanguards, which makes me sad. I would like to see some Vanguards that have more game-changing abilities. I feel like since the first wave of Vanguards for more of the Spark, they've been kind of underwhelming. There hasn't been like a strong need to pick them up. So I know that the team is definitely putting a lot of time into making them and coming up with them and making sure that they're trying to run the game more smoothly while they're out. But I cannot suggest that you pick these things up for this set. So yeah. Anyways, so that there's like some really great things, and then there's like the sort of lackluster things, right? The full art cards are great and amazing. The Vanguards are skippable. So the TLDR of this video, oh gosh, TLDR, why are you speaking like that, man? Yeah. Anyways, the short part, right? The explanation, which I suppose I could have just done at the beginning instead of right here at the end, is save all of your crystals for the full art cards and save all of your jewels for something that is not Kaldheim's Vanguards. Cool. Easy. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.